The Galactic Council chamber had never been this quiet. It was a vast, circular hall, big enough to hold delegates from 100 different worlds. And yet the silence seemed to swallow every sound. The usual hum of voices, the shuffling of papers, the faint tapping of translators and data pads, it was all gone. Every delegate stared at one place that had always been filled, the human seat. For 200 years it had never been empty. Humans were not the oldest race in the galaxy, not the most powerful. But they had always been here, listening, advising, arguing, making deals. Their representative was usually late, sometimes dramatic, always confident. But today there was nothing. No one had walked in. No one had even sent a message. The seat was empty, the flag above it still, and the small screen that should display the name of the human ambassador only showed static. High speaker. Relcorn shifted uncomfortably. In his habacked chair. His species, the Telvaron, were known for their patience, but even he felt a cold unease in his chest. He cleared his throat, his voice echoing too loudly. We will begin. At once the delegates began to murmur again, but their voices were strained. One from the Viren collective spoke first, her words sharp. High speaker, where is Ambassador Cole? Why are the humans absent from this session? Relcorn hesitated. The truth was, no one knew. Every attempt to contact Earth or any of its colonies had failed. Long-range comms sent nothing back but dead air. The humans' trade hubs, normally buzzing with ships, were silent. Some council patrols had already reported abandoned stations, with no sign of battle or evacuation, just emptiness. A representative from the Haskin Union slammed a heavy claw on the table. This is unacceptable. Humans control key hyperlanes. Without them, trade will collapse. They have abandoned us, someone from the far end muttered. Relcorn raised a hand. We do not know that. There could be an explanation. A technical crisis. A planetary emergency. But his voice lacked conviction, and everyone in the chamber could hear it. The Earthian delegate, whose long serpentine body coiled tightly under stress, spoke in a low hiss. I have spoken with my sector patrol. To human colonies Bridestone and New Thessaly are empty. No ships. People. The lights were still on, meals half-eaten on tables, but every single human gone. A ripple of fear spread through the hall. The Scori representative leaned forward, her eyes like cold glass, and yet there are no signs of attack, no distress. Signals. This is not war, this is disappearance. Relcorn glanced at the human seat again. It felt wrong to see it empty, like a missing tooth in a smile that could never be whole again. We will investigate, he said finally. I am ordering an emergency expedition to Earth itself. We will find out what has happened. 2 days. Later, the Council's scout ship Orion's Light dropped out of hyperspace at the Sol System's edge. Its crew was a mixed group, a Telvron captain, an Earthian navigator, and 2 Haskin Marines for security. None of them had been here before, though they had heard stories of the human homeworld, a place of oceans and forests, of cities lit brighter than any starport. They expected chatter on the comms as soon as they arrived. Human traffic control was notorious for its constant communication. The airwaves were silent, not a single ping. Scanning for transmissions, the navigator hissed, her long fingers dancing across the controls. After a pause, she looked up. Nothing. Not even automated signals. The captain's brow furrowed, set course for Earth. As the blue and white sphere came into view, the crew leaned forward, expecting to see cities glowing like jewels against the dark. But the planet below was wrong. The continents were there, the oceans still shimmered, but there were no city lights. The dark side of Earth was truly dark, without even the faint orange glow of settlements. From orbit, they could see no ships in dock, no aircraft in flight, no sign of life. One of the Haskin Marines shifted uneasily, his claws tapping against the metal floor. I do not like this, he growled. It feels dead. The captain ordered a closer approach. As they descended, Sensors scanned for signs of human activity. There were power grids in place, but most were inactive. A few reactors still hummed faintly, as if recently abandoned. The planet wasn't destroyed, there were no craters, no fires, but it was silent. The crew tried every frequency, every emergency channel. There was no reply. Finally, the captain said, "Take us over the largest human city. New York, I believe it's called." When they passed overhead, the sight chilled them to the bone. Towering buildings stood intact, but windows were dark, streets were empty, cars were frozen mid-lane, some doors left open. It looked as though every human had simply stopped whatever they were doing and walked away. A voice crackled over the intercom. One of the science officers monitoring the surface scans. "Captain, there's something else. What is it?" "Communication network. Every satellite, every server, wiped. Not damaged, erased." As if someone didn't want any trace left behind. The captain stared down at the silent planet. "This isn't an accident." Back in the council chamber, the high speaker stood in front of the assembly, his expression grim. The report from Orion's Light had just been delivered. He described the empty cities, the erased networks, the total absence of humans. The room was tense. "They're hiding," one delegate said. "They're dead," another argued. "They've left us," a third whispered. Relcorn didn't speak for a long time. When he finally did, his words sent another ripple of unease through the room. "Whatever has happened, one thing is clear. The humans are gone, and I fear this is only the beginning." Far away, in the dark reaches of space, a single automated probe drifted silently. It was human-built, its metal surface scarred by micrometeor impacts. It had one function, to transmit a message when activated. Suddenly, its lights flickered on. The probe turned its dish toward the heart of the galaxy and sent out a brief, cryptid burst. Somewhere, far beyond the Council's reach, someone or something received it. And the countdown began. The transmission came in the middle of the night cycle at the Galactic Council's Intelligence Center. The facility, buried deep beneath the crystalline cliffs of Rias Prime, was always quiet, just the hum of servers, the soft clicking of analysts working through endless data streams. On this night, a young archivist named Kelrin was monitoring the CUMS array. Most incoming signals were routine trade updates, security reports, distress calls from pirate raids. But this one was different. It was faint, buried deep in the static of abandoned human channels. The signal was coming from a relay station. In an uninhabited sector, one that should have been offline ever since humanity vanished. The coordinates were close to the edge of human space, near a collapsed mining colony. At first, Kelrin thought it was an error, but as the signal repeated, his skin prickled. The voice was human, calm, clear. Speaking in standard trade language, "We must go now. Do not follow." The words were repeated 3 times before the signal cut off. Kelrin immediately called his supervisor. And within minutes, the room was filled with senior analysts, encryption experts, and high-ranking council. Intelligence officers. They replayed the message again and again, analyzing every tone, every pause, every breath. At first, it seemed simpler, farewell, perhaps even a warning. But then a linguist from the Therian collective noticed something strange. There were faint vibrations in the background, so low they were almost inaudible. A second hidden layer in the transmission. The linguist worked on it for hours, isolating the background frequencies, enhancing the sound, and slowing it down. When they finally played the result, everyone in the room froze. The hidden layer wasn't random noise. It was a code, and it didn't match anything in the Galactic archives. Not military codes, not trade encryption, not even ancient pre-space languages. This was something entirely new, something only humans could have made. As the linguist decoded the first few symbols, her face drained of color. She began to shake, clutching her hands tightly, as if to keep them from trembling. Asked what it said, she whispered, "It's a warning, but not to us." The director of intelligence demanded she explained. The linguist hesitated, then looked him in the eye. "This message It isn't telling us not to follow. It's telling someone else that they can begin. The council convened an emergency meeting the next cycle. High Speaker Relcorn stood in the center of the chamber reading the official intelligence report. The atmosphere was tense, more than tense. It was suffocating. "This is the only human transmission we have received since their disappearance," Relcorn said, his voice low, "and it carries an encoded message we cannot fully decipher. But what we have learned is troubling." The Viren delegate interrupted sharply. "We cannot waste time worrying over riddles. We must find where the humans went. If they are hiding, we will drag them back. If they are dead, we will secure their technology before it is lost." The Scori representative glared. "What if they left because they knew something we do not? Do you wish to go charging into danger blindly?" The Erithian delegate's coils tightened. This hidden message, if it truly signals the start of something, we may already be too late. The council chamber erupted into arguments, voices rising over each other. Some wanted to launch fleets into human territory. Others demanded isolation, sealing off all hyperspace lanes to former human space. A few feared that the humans themselves were the danger. Relcorn silenced them with a sharp strike of his staff. "Enough. The truth is simple. We do not know what this message means, but I will not allow fear to fracture this council. We will send reconnaissance ships to the source of the transmission. We will find answers." 3 cycles later, scout vessel Vigil's Edge reached the coordinates of the relay station. It was an old human-built platform, small and angular, its surface battered by decades of exposure to solar winds. It should have been dark, dead, but its antennae still rotated slowly. Faint lights pulsed along its frame. The crew boarded it cautiously, moving through cold, empty corridors. Dust floated in the stale air. Every console was locked, encrypted with codes far beyond the council's best decryption tools. One of the engineers found something strange scratches along the walls of the control room. It's not random, but deliberate. Words, carved in English. The human tongue they read, "When the stars go out, run." The captain ordered a full sweep, but there was nothing else, no bodies, no supplies, no sign of where the humans had gone. Only that phrase, the active transmitter, and the lingering signal repeating its quiet command, "We must go now. Do not follow." The Vigil's Edge returned with the relay's logs. The data team at the intelligence center dug deep, tracing the hidden code's point of origin. It wasn't from the relay itself. It had been sent from somewhere far beyond the edge of human space. Somewhere the council had no maps for, and worse, the hidden code was still being transmitted. To somewhere else entirely, the director of intelligence called Relcorn in person. "Hi, Speaker. I believe the humans didn't send this message to us at all. They sent it to the other side." Relcorn's brow furrowed. "The other side of what?" The director looked pale. "Of the galaxy." Far out in the uncharted void, a distant star flared unnaturally bright for just a moment. Around it, shapes began to move, shapes far larger than any council ship. They stirred as if waking from a long slumber, their surfaces rippling with strange living metal. They had heard the message, and they were coming. The first cracks appeared in places no one noticed at first. A trade convoy failed to arrive at the Viren docks. A mining operation on the edge of council territory reported its navigation AI had gone dark. Its fusion reactor built maintained, understood only by humans, refused to restart. Individually, these were inconveniences. Together, they formed the start of something worse. Within 2 weeks of humanity's disappearance, the galaxy's lifelines began to snap. On the capital world of the Haskin Union, the central power grid flickered and died without warning. Entire districts went dark. Factories halted mid-production, their automated systems refusing to restart because the human-designed safety protocols required a code only human technicians knew in the Viren Collective. Long-range hyperspace routes charted over decades by human navigators became unstable. Ships jumped into empty voids and never came back. Trade captains whispered that it was no longer safe to travel without human guidance. A Scori warlord learned the truth the hard way. His fleet, trying to seize a small mining moon, powered up its newly acquired human-built siege cannon. Weapon exploded before firing a single shot. It hadn't been sabotaged, it had simply recognized there were no humans present, and shut itself down violently. In the council chamber, the mood had shifted from unease to panic. Delegates yelled over one another, demanding emergency measures. Some proposed stripping abandoned human worlds for technology. Others wanted to seal those same worlds off, fearing hidden traps. They were holding everything together, the Erythian delegate said, her coils wound tight in fear. Our economies, our star lanes, our weapons all tied to them. Without humans, everything will collapse. They made us dependent, the Viren representative hissed, and now they've abandoned us. The High Speaker tried to keep control, but even he felt the truth sinking in. Humans had always been the strange, adaptable species, too clever for their own good, too curious to leave anything unexplored. While the rest of the galaxy had specialized, humans had learned a little bit of everything, and quietly inserted themselves into the center of it all. Now they were gone, and the galaxy was realizing just how much it needed them. Reports of chaos poured in daily. Pirates long kept in check by human patrols raided trade lanes openly. Refugees from abandoned colonies flooded neighboring systems. Civilian ships overloaded emergency docks, begging for routes to safer space. On the Council's central news network, a popular anchor asked the question everyone feared to say aloud. What if they knew something? What if they left because they saw the end coming? No one answered. Then came the first real sign that something else was happening in a deep space. Research station orbiting a dead star, astronomers detected massive energy readings from the far edge of the galaxy. At first they thought it was a supernova, but the energy spike was too controlled, too precise, pulsed in regular intervals, as if answering some kind of signal. When the scientists compared the readings to the hidden code found in the human's last message, the patterns matched perfectly. The lead astronomer sent an encrypted report directly to the Council.
Ow.
But before she could finish her work, the station's sensors picked up something else: movement. A vast cluster of objects, too large to be ships and too organized to be natural, was approaching slowly from beyond the galactic rim. Back on the Council capital, Relcorn listened to the astronomer's dying transmission. Static filled most of it, but her final words were clear enough. There. Not coming from nowhere, coming from where the humans went. The chamber fell silent after the recording ended. The Scori delegate spoke first, her voice low. If this is true, the humans didn't run, they went to meet them. Relcorn stared at the great star map dominating the chamber wall. Slowly, he realized the terrible truth: whatever was out there, humanity had known about it. For reasons he couldn't understand, they had chosen to leave the galaxy. Just before it arrived, far beyond any settled system in the cold dark between. Galaxies, the approaching shapes, grew larger. Their surfaces gleamed with unnatural light, and their slow, steady advance never faltered. One by one, dormant human satellites hidden across the galaxy came online, their silent sensors turning toward the rim. In perfect synchronization, they began transmitting. The signals were not sent to the Council, they were sent outward, toward the things that were coming. The Council named the expedition Operation Dawnlight. 3 heavy cruisers, a dozen escorts, and the research vessel Horizons Wake set course for the outer systems where the strange energy readings had been detected. They expected ruins. They expected danger. Edge of the galaxy was a place of silence. Few ships came here, and those that did rarely lingered. Beyond this point lay only the cold void between galaxies, empty, endless, and without rescue. When the fleet emerged from hyperspace, the first thing they saw were the stars. The second was the wall. It was not a physical wall, but a formation thousands upon thousands of ships, lined in perfect order across the black. Each was a human warship, some sleek and modern, others older designs that had not been seen in over a century. Their hulls were painted in deep, matte black, absorbing light. No insignias, no markings. They were utterly still, like statues in the dark. The fleet commander, Admiral Vether of the Haskin Union, ordered scans. The results made no sense. The ships were powered reactors active, weapons charged, but no life signs were detected. Not a single human was aboard any of them. Automated? One officer suggested. Perhaps, the admiral said, but his voice carried no certainty. The Horizon's Wake attempted to hail them. No reply. It tried again, cycling through every known human frequency. Silence, and then out. Without warning, one of the black warships moved. It turned slowly, its massive hull rotating until its forward batteries were aimed directly at the Council fleet. The cruisers shifted into defensive positions, weapons ready, before anyone could speak. The warship's comm system came alive, not with an open channel, but with a single transmission sent to every ship in the expedition. One word. Wait. The voice was human, deep and calm. It repeated the word 3 times. Then the warship turned back to its original formation. As if nothing had happened, the Council fleet was rattled, but the Horizon's Wake pushed closer for a better scan. That's when they saw something they hadn't noticed before. Every ship in the human formation had its weapons aimed outward. Toward the void beyond the galaxy, not inward. Toward Council space, it was a defense line. But against what? The scientists aboard the Horizon's Wake made another disturbing discovery. The ships were broadcasting low-frequency pulses into the void messages, so slow and faint they were almost undetectable. When decoded, the pulses matched the strange pattern hidden in humanity's last transmission. The Council fleet argued fiercely over what to do. The Scori captains demanded they turn back, fearing that any interference might provoke the humans or whatever they were watching for. The Viren escorts wanted to seize a ship for study. Convinced that the fleet was abandoned and free for the taking, Admiral Vethar decided to send a drone closer. The small probe approached the nearest warship, its cameras feeding back images of a silent, unmarked hull. Then, without warning, a beam of light lanced out from the warship's underside, slicing the drone cleanly in half. A single message followed. This time, the human voice was sharper. Do not cross the line. The Council fleet withdrew to a safer distance, but the scientists continued to monitor the pulses. After hours of observation, they realized something chilling. The pulse pattern was changing. It was no longer a broadcast into empty space. It was a reply. Something out there was answering. The humans had not left these ships here by accident. They were not abandoned relics. They were sentinels and manned guardians, holding the line against whatever was coming. And now, the reply had come. Admiral Vethar sent a priority transmission to the high speaker. We have found them. The humans are not here, but their warships are waiting. The line they hold is not meant to keep us out. It is meant to keep something else in. As the message was sent, the black warships began to shift, slowly rearranging their formation. From the Council fleet's position, it looked almost like they were preparing for battle, far out in the void beyond them. Faint glimmers of movement appeared, shapes too distant to identify, but moving in perfect synchronization. Whatever was coming, the humans had been expecting it for a very long time. The decision to break into the human archives was not made lightly. For 2 centuries, the Galactic Council had respected humanity's Black Vault, a sealed data repository deep within Council space. Guarded by autonomous defenses and signed treaties ensuring no species would attempt to access it. The only condition, if humanity ever fell, the vault was to remain closed. Now, humans gone and their warships stationed like silent sentinels, at the galactic edge, fear outweighed promises. The vault was buried beneath the surface of Syndrol Prime, a barren moon chosen for its isolation. Its entrance was a single obsidian door, smooth and seamless, with no visible mechanism. For 3 days, Council engineers worked to bypass the security fields, losing 2 drones and 1 brave volunteer to instant vaporization before finally breaching the outer lock. Inside, the corridors were cold and sterile, lined with steel so black it seemed to drink the light. The deeper the Council team went, the more it felt less like they were entering a database, more like a tomb. At the core of the vault, they found a single terminal. No controls, no wires, just a circular pedestal with a projection field. Hovering above it, the lead archivist, an Erethian named Vashari. approached cautiously and activated it. The hologram that appeared was not a human face. It was a star map. But it wasn't the familiar galaxy. It was larger, stretching far beyond known space. Entire sectors were marked in deep red, each labeled with human glyphs and a single council translation. Quarantined, the team began combing through the data. The deeper they went, the more the truth emerged. These quarantine zones weren't random. They were old, impossibly old. Some matched regions of space that the oldest civilizations remembered as dead sectors, places no ships returned from. Others were beyond even the Council's farthest explorations. One file contained a list of species names, most unfamiliar. Cross-referencing with the Council's archives revealed a horrifying fact. All of them were extinct. Every one. The reason listed in the human files was chillingly consistent. Hostile contact, external origin. Humans had been tracking something. For thousands of years, something that had destroyed countless civilizations long before the Council even existed. Deeper still, the archivists found another layer of encryption. It took hours of work, but when it finally broke, the hologram shifted again, this time showing a single, massive structure at the very edge of the galaxy. It was not natural. From its design, it wasn't built by humans either. It was vast, stretching across the equivalent of several star systems. It pulsed with faint energy readings, and dozens of human annotations surrounded it in the display. The translation was short and direct. Breach site. Vishari's tail tightened nervously as she scrolled further. The next line of text appeared. To be a direct human message to whoever might one day open the vault. If you are reading this, we have failed to contain them beyond the rim. The fleets you see are our last wall. Do not interfere. Do not attempt contact. They are not coming to conquer. They're coming to feed. Back in the council chamber, High Speaker Relcorn listened to the full report. The room was silent. Truly silent as Vishari concluded with the final part of the message. They didn't leave to run, she said. They left to fight. Out there, beyond the breach, and the fleets we found. They are just the first line, the Viren delegates. Voice cracked. If these things have destroyed entire galaxies before us, then we are already doomed. Relcorn's eyes went to the holographic map above the chamber, where the red quarantine zones pulsed like infected wounds. Not doomed, he said quietly. Not yet, because the humans are still fighting. Meanwhile, at the edge of the galaxy, the black warships began shifting again, opening a narrow gap in their formation. Through that gap, a single massive vessel emerged. It was unlike the silent sentinels. This one bore scars from battle, its hull scorched and pitted. It moved with purpose, heading straight toward Council space. For the first time since they vanished, a human ship was coming home. The war had been silent for days. No battles, no messages, no signs of the humans anywhere. The Galactic Council thought maybe it was over. Maybe humanity had finally retreated. But deep down, no one truly believed that. It felt like the calm before a storm. On the Council's war table, dozens of holograms floated maps of star systems, ship routes, defense grids. Every fleet was on high alert, yet there was nothing to fight. The enemy was invisible. The humans had vanished from the front lines, leaving only empty space where their warships used to be. Admiral Vexer sat in silence, staring at the glowing map. They are not gone, he muttered. They are moving, somewhere we cannot see. Them, his aides glanced at each other nervously. No one dared to speak. Everyone had heard the rumors the humans had technology that did not appear on scanners. Whole fleets could vanish without trace, only to appear right on top of their target then. On the far side of the galaxy, an outpost went dark. No distress call, no signs of battle, just silence. Council members gathered to review the event. It could be a malfunction, one suggested. But then another outpost fell silent. And another. Each one was on the edge of Council territory. Each one destroyed without warning. It's like they're testing us, said Senator Ralvin. Cutting away our vision, our reach. They're isolating us. In a hidden chamber, Council spies brought in fragments of intercepted human transmissions. They were short, coded, impossible to fully understand. But a few words stood out, words that made the room cold. Phase 2, already in motion. Council realized the truth. The humans were not retreating. They were preparing. Something far bigger than anyone had guessed was coming. On a border moon, a group of alien soldiers patrolled the night. The air was cold, the sky quiet. Then without warning, the ground trembled. Lights appeared in the sky, dozens of them falling fast. It's too fast to be meteorites. The soldiers raised their weapons, but the objects hit the ground silently. The dust cleared, and there was nothing there. Nothing, until the shadows began to move. What emerged from the dust wasn't a ship, but machines, sleek, black, walking on silent legs. They carried no visible weapons, yet the soldiers knew danger when they saw it. One soldier tried to call for help, but his cum was dead. Another raised a scanner, but it only showed static. The machines had already cut communications. Then, without a single gunshot, the outpost's power died. The soldiers were left in darkness, only the faint red glow of the machines moving closer. By the time reinforcements arrived, the moon was empty, not destroyed empty. Every building still stood, every weapon was still in place, but every soldier, every officer, every living being was gone. Word of the event spread across the galaxy like a plague. The humans weren't just attacking, they were erasing. At the next council meeting, the fear was impossible to hide. "We don't know where they will strike next," Admiral Vexer said. "They could already be inside our borders. They could be here." For the first time, the Galactic Council ordered a complete lockdown. Star lanes were closed. Civilian travel was banned. Fleets patrolled every major world, but it didn't matter. 3 days later, one of the Council's core planets lost contact. Not a border world, not an outpost. A core planet deep in their safe territory. The Council understood then there were no safe worlds anymore. And somewhere, far beyond their scanners, a human commander watched the chaos unfold. His voice was calm as he sent a single message to his fleet: begin the next stage. The core planet of Veltra Prime had never known fear. For centuries, it was the heart of culture and power in the Galactic Council. Its skies were always busy with trade ships, its streets glowing with endless lights. People believed no enemy could ever reach this far. That belief shattered in a single night. It began with a soft tremor. Most ignored it, thinking it was a small quake from the planet's shifting crust. But then, the lights in the capital city flickered. Once, twice, then died completely. Darkness spread like ink across the city. Skyscrapers that had glowed for centuries now stood like black monoliths under the starlight. Panic swept the streets. Civilians tried to call for help, but their comms were dead. Emergency power failed to dot in the Council's planetary command center. Alarms blared only for the systems to collapse moments later. Officers scrambled to reboot defenses, but every system simply read, "Override in progress." No one knew who had done it. No one could even find the source. Then, something stranger happened. The city's massive orbital defense grid, 30 war platforms, and 100 gun satellites turned inward. Instead of guarding the planet, they began firing. At nothing, blue energy bolts cut through the void, hitting empty space. But the targeting logs told another story. They were hitting something their eyes couldn't see. On one of the platforms, a crew member swore he saw the stars shift unnaturally, a ripple in space itself. Then, a black shape emerged, for a second before vanishing again. By the time anyone realized what was happening, the orbital defenses were gone. Every platform, every satellite, silenced, not destroyed, taken. On the ground, the silence grew heavier. People could feel it, like the whole world was holding its breath. That was when they came. Not in giant ships, not in roaring armies. In shadows, dozens of small, sleek craft dropped silently from the sky, landing in perfect formation. Their hulls were covered in shifting plates, bending the moonlight around them until they almost vanished. From them stepped humans, the aliens. A Veltra Prime had always thought of humans as loud, emotional, and chaotic. But these soldiers were something else. They moved like water. No wasted steps. No sound, no hesitation. Their armor absorbed light, their weapons emitted no glow. One alien guard tried to speak, demanding identification. A soft click from one of the human rifles was the last thing he heard, before everything went black. The humans didn't destroy the city. They didn't take valuables. They didn't leave bodies. They simply removed people. Whole blocks were emptied. Within minutes, in the council chamber, far away, Admiral Vexer received the first real-time feed from a hidden drone that had survived the attack for 30 seconds before being wiped. He replayed the footage over and over. It was the same everywhere. No blood, no explosions, just disappearance. What are they doing with them? One counselor whispered. VAXAR didn't answer. Back on Veltra Prime, the remaining civilians gathered in the central plaza, thinking safety might be found in numbers. But the humans didn't even need to land again. Above the plaza, the sky shimmered and a massive shape slowly became visible. It was a ship. No one had ever seen a vessel like it. Surface seemed alive, shifting and folding. No thrusters, no windows, no markings. A single pulse of light came from its underside. Silent, gentle, harmless looking. When the light faded, the plaza was empty. Every single person gone. And then the ship simply faded from view, leaving only the silent stars. The attack lasted less than an hour. By the next day, Veltra Prime was abandoned, its towers still standing, its markets still full of goods, but its people erased. From existence, the council declared it an unprecedented act of war. But deep inside, many feared it wasn't war at all. It was something else, something colder. In a hidden command post light years away, the human commander stood over a vast star map. Dozens of red markers council worlds were already crossed. Out. Veltra Prime was the latest. His voice was steady as he gave the next order. Target the inner colonies. Leave no one behind. The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never been this quiet. Rows of alien delegates sat in a half-circle, their eyes locked on the single empty seat at the far end of the hall. That seat had once belonged to the representative of Earth. Now it stood vacant, a reminder of what had been lost, and of what was coming. When humanity had walked away from the council, many thought it was a political gesture. Some believed it was anger over trade disputes. Others whispered it was about military restrictions. But the truth, the council was beginning to realize, was far worse. Humanity had not left because of arguments or pride. They had left because they knew something the others did not. The news spread across the galaxy like a silent wave. Star systems that had always depended on human fleets began locking down their borders. Merchant routes shifted. Entire planets sent their ships to the far edges of their territories waiting for something. Nobody could say what. The Zorath delegate, a tall insectoid with silver-blue eyes, tapped one claw against the desk. We must address the empty seat, she said. We cannot pretend Earth's withdrawal is without consequence. But her words were met with silence. Every council member knew the consequences. In the century since humanity joined the council, threats that once destroyed civilizations had been stopped in their tracks. Piracy, slaver empires, rogue A's, human fleets had stood in the way of them all. They hadn't just been soldiers. Humans were explorers, engineers, diplomats, even peacekeepers among species that barely understood each other. Now, they were gone. The Quorum ambassador, whose crystalline skin caught the chamber light, spoke next. The Outer Rim patrols report strange ship movements, he said slowly. Unmarked vessels. They do not match any known registry. Is it the Scourge? Someone asked. The word sent a chill through the room. The Scourge had been one of the galaxy's greatest threats, a force of merciless machines that consumed entire worlds. The last time they had appeared, humanity had been the first to fight them, losing millions of lives in the process. The Quorum shook his head. Not Scourge. Something else. Something. Familiar. Familiar. That word hung heavy. Across the galaxy, Ordinary people were starting to notice small changes. Patrol ships disappearing, communications blackouts in the far sectors, mining stations abandoned mid-operation, as if workers had fled without warning, on the Council's private data feeds. Encrypted reports from spies hinted at the same thing. Something was moving in the dark between the stars, something vast and coordinated. And whatever it was, humanity had seen it coming. The Vrenic delegate, a reptilian figure with deep red scales, leaned forward. "We have tried to contact Earth, no reply. Not from their colonies, not from their ships. It's as if they've erased themselves from the network." The Zorith delegate tilted her head. "Perhaps they are hiding or preparing," the Vrenic said darkly in hidden corners of the galaxy. Human fleets were already on the move, but not under the Council's command. Whole task forces had vanished from their known positions. Civilian transports were quietly relocating populations. From vulnerable worlds, humans weren't running away. They were fortifying. The Council didn't know this. But out beyond the mapped borders, humanity had discovered something ancient, something that had once ended entire galactic ages. And this time, it was waking up again in a secret orbital. Stationed above a dead star, a human admiral watched the mobilization of the largest fleet Earth had ever assembled. Rows of massive warships, bristling with weapons no alien had ever seen, drifted silently in the void. Waiting for a single order. "Council thinks they can handle it without us," the admiral said quietly to his aide. "They have no idea. It's already begun, far away in the Council chamber." The delegates continued to argue about the empty seat, still believing they had time. They didn't.